Ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to my P-80 Subscriber's Choice video. Now before we get into the meat of this, a stock P-80 taking off on a Kaido. I've neutralised the elevator controls, putting the cursor over the targeting reticle. Throttle's to 100% and I'm holding the B key, which is the default brake key, letting the engine spool. You can hear the engine slowly winding up. Release B, begin my roll forward. You can see the incredibly slow acceleration down the runway. Even Bearcats will pull past you trying to take this thing off. Still accelerating, just passing 100 kilometers an hour now. Continuing on. Right, just approaching the end of the runway and I'm just passing up to 200 kilometers an hour. Drop the landing flaps. Give a very gentle lift so I clear the hill at the end, and as soon as you've cleared the hill, fold the landing gear. That's how you get it off the ground. I'm mainly showing this because I know a lot of people have had issues trying to get this off the ground, and you do exactly the same thing with the Thunderjet. So, moving on to the meat of this episode. So, the P-80, how is it? Well, it's widely regarded as being the worst aircraft in the game, in terms of jets anyway. I've had some victories in it, and I've had some defeats in it. As per last video, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a montage of both, before we get into the main battle I've chosen to show. Now, why this plane is not particularly good, it is one that I still recommend new jet pilots get access to and learn to fly. And there is a reason for it, but I'll come into that in a moment. But first, facing props in this thing. A lot of prop pilots complain the P-80 faces them. Don't. Seriously, don't. This plane underperforms almost every prop that it is capable of facing. Actually, I class it as every prop that it's capable of facing, except in one area. Note to self, don't head on TU2s. Bad idea. The P-80 is an example of the very, very first generation of jet technology. Now, when these planes went into service, their engines were considered highly experimental. And in many cases, well, in most cases, the prop aircraft of the time outperformed the jets, and certainly the case with the P-80. The main reason jet technology boomed post-World War II was the militaries of the world recognised that piston, propeller-driven aircraft were just about at the pinnacle of their development. There wasn't going to be a huge amount of extra performance that these aircraft could generate on these traditional engines. They needed something new. And why in almost all cases the jet technology of the time was outperformed by the piston-driven aircraft of the time, this was a brand new technology that had seen zero development, so it had a large amount of room to move in order to advance forward, to get more powerful. So the world's governments jumped on this technology as fast as they could. Through further developments, they would be able to make faster and better aircraft than piston technology. There just needed to be a development time, and this is the P-80 is a representation of the first of that generation, where the props are actually more dangerous, but these are still the entry into the future of aircraft. Now this is the battle I've chosen to showcase this aircraft's capabilities. We are on Korea, we're versing MiG-9s. Now I'm going to have plenty of time to talk during the start of this battle, as right now I'm fighting the aircraft, trying to maintain speed and energy, or gain speed and energy. I'm actually having to fight the plane simply to try and clear these mountains ahead of me at the moment. And at least the first half of this match will be spent simply trying to get speed and energy in this plane. To give you an idea on how bad the climb rate on this, for those that don't have it, that are only facing it at the moment, a TU2S will outclimb this aircraft. Any prop fighter in the game will outperform this aircraft in all but one category, and that's level flight energy retention. If a pilot can get this thing up to altitude and manage to get a dive in to get it up to around 700 kilometers an hour and pulls it into level flight and then does nothing except maintain level flight, this plane will continue on at that speed without dropping any of that energy. However, if the pilot wants to maintain that speed and climb, he can't exceed a 4 to 6 degree climb angle. Any higher than that and he'll bleed his speed fast. Any form of heavy manoeuvring on the aircraft will drop it down to 300 kilometers an hour almost instantly, and its overall manoeuvring capability is marginally better than a Lancaster bomber. The armament is M2 Browning machine guns, and why these fire, well, exactly the same rounds as the M3, so their overall ammunition effectiveness, if they hit target, is the same as an M3 armed aircraft. The fire rate is so low that I have seen aircraft pass through my line of fire without actually being struck by the rounds. Basically, it's a crap machine. However, I haven't had such a bad time with it. I've got a 70% win ratio in it at the moment after 20 matches. I've shot down 14 aircraft for 17 deaths, so its survivability rating is not great. Its KDR is in the negative, but not by much. I've never managed to achieve any more than around 3rd to 4th place in the matches that I've been into so far, but I do tend to go aggressively after powerful aircraft rather than after the lowest aircraft that I have available. I do try and fly it as a jet, trying to target the highest value targets on the enemy team, so I tend to put it into risky situations when I probably shouldn't. Now, that being said, despite the plane's piss-poor performance, it is a plane that I still recommend that every pilot that is going down the US tree unlocks as their first jet. For one reason alone. This aircraft is brutal on its energy management. It is really hard to gain energy in it and keep that energy and maintain it once you actually have it, which is why I recommend that people get it. If you can learn to gain energy in this aircraft and then to keep that energy through the course of a fight, and if you can manage to use this aircraft to, at least attain around a 1-to-1 KDR in it, or close enough to that area, you can use that knowledge that you have gained and apply it to any other better jet aircraft, and I'm looking at F9 F2s or the F-80C after this, and you will be so much a better pilot for what you have learned. That's what this aircraft really is. It's a learning tool for new jet pilots. It showcases the differences between how props gain, control and manage energy and how jets do it. If you can learn to control this energy inside of a jet, learn how to gain energy in this aircraft and learn how to control it, you will be able to apply that knowledge to any other aircraft you fly. You will become a much, much, much more effective pilot in any future aircraft you gain. The knowledge on how it operates can be applied to anything. Your first shots into a MiG-9, just give it a good rake across the nose. I don't even attempt to turn back. I've managed to get this thing to 554 kilometers an hour. I do not want to lose that speed at the moment because I'm still trying to wind it up. I have, however, got enough energy now to look into engaging other jets. So I'm just monitoring the MiG-9 that's down to my left. I'm also monitoring what's going on to my right, trying to work out the most effective place to put it. The one down to my left already has 3 aircraft on it. There's no need for me to go after that one. I'm turning back, heading back towards the remaining 2 MiG-9s in this direction. Now I am flying out this match with Big Man and Grievous. They are both in their F8 F1Bs. Even they couldn't stomach flying the P-80. It's a good thing they didn't too. Too many P-80s on a team will actually almost guarantee a loss, especially when facing prop aircraft. Their energy retention and their turning rates are just not good enough to be able to effectively engage, especially in large groups. The P-80s need props to support them, to cover the issues and the downfalls in the P-80's airframe and flight capabilities. So I was heading over to assist Grievous and I spotted 2 MiG-9s coming in from the right, so I'm picking targets. Just dipping the nose down here a little bit. As you saw in that turn, I actually bled a lot of speed making that turn, so I had to dip the nose down to try and regain it. Trying for some long range shots. And this is the problem with the M2 Brownings on this machine. Because the fire rate is so low, long range snipes, you're not getting a constant stream. The shells tend to burst as they're coming out of the gun. It makes long range aiming extremely difficult. And as you can see, even this gentle climb going over the mountain then was costing me speed. I wasn't able to maintain it. The enemy team has ran down to the runway. I'm going to go engage him right on top of it. Now I was looking at Karpar in pursuing one of our F-80Cs, but then I see this bloke here, swing the plane around fast. That kills me a lot of speed, but this guy's not going particularly quickly. Aim up for a long range shot. And I get a lucky hit there. What actually happened is I shot his elevators off right as he was getting ready to crest that hill, and he was on a down angle. He couldn't pull out of the way of the tree, and the tree took him out. And that was my only kill for this match. Now you'll note in the way that I flew the plane, it was long straight lines, very, very, very little in the way of manoeuvres, and this is why. A simple Millman just to realign on this target behind me, and I went from 680 kilometers an hour to 300 kilometers an hour instantly. That's how bad this thing's energy retention in manoeuvres is. You have to keep its manoeuvres long and straight, otherwise you'll simply bleed off all of your energy. And even diving back down to the deck, I haven't actually hit the speed that I started at yet. Its energy gain rate is actually lower than its loss rate. So from here I'm just running through, just strafing out a few ground targets, clearing out around the runway while we're waiting for the match to end. And that was this battle over. So let's go check out the results. So as I said, you're not going to rock first place in this plane. 7th place for the team, 1 kill, 1 ground target, final blow, 23,000 credits. It's not much. But yet I still recommend this aircraft, especially for people as a first jet, just coming into the jet tiers, regardless of nation. If you have access to this plane, it will teach you things that are useful in every jet in the game. Its repair cost is only 10,000 credits, so you have a very low loss rate for your learning. The things that you learn in it can be applied to any aircraft in the game. Its low tiering and performance in comparison to the props that it's facing means it's not a machine that has to carry a match. It's a machine that can be carried by the props that are far more plentiful around you, and you'll tend to get into larger matches. Basically, it's better to learn to fly a jet in the P-80 where you're not particularly important to your team than it is in, say, the F9, F2 where you may be one of 6 aircraft on your team and you're facing CL-13As and the MiG-15 Biz. In the second environment, you need to perform for your team to win. In the first environment, you have time to learn. Now, to finish this one off, in a recent Q&A, Gaijin said they didn't see any problems with the current state of AAA within War Thunder. Yeah, let's see about that. Now, I'm just demonstrating the level flight energy retention of the P-80 to pull away from this Focke-Wulf 190, pull it into a sharp burst to gain altitude, and 1 shot fired. Now, the interesting part about this is ground attackers had already moved through the area and destroyed all the AAA guns in this zone. The AAA gun that just fired that single shell and just sniped my wing off was almost 8 kilometers away. Yeah, totally balanced. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.